How much tone is in the fingers? Is there even any? Well, it depends on a number of things. First of all, the amount of compression and distortion. Second of all, the style. And third, on the specific riff or lick that we're talking about. In today's Master Your Tone episode, I want to give you my hot take on this subject. Tone is in the fingers. It's something that a lot of us say and do mean, and then others will hate it and get really angry about it and will say, no, it's a myth, it's crap. If you disagree or agree, whichever, see you down there in the comments, share your thoughts. I want to divide this into 3 categories, which I think makes the most sense. It might be different for you. As told, do let me know. I would divide this whole subject into 3 gain stages: clean, low to mid gain, and higher gain sounds. Let's start with high gain. Well, it's interesting because the way you touch the strings, the way you pick, where and how you pick, the playing dynamics, all of these things are mostly lost because of all that saturation and compression going on. This doesn't mean that the player doesn't count anymore. You can still recognize the player, so there can still be tone in those fingers, because that's what this term tries to explain, that you can spot the player. One of those tricks is the writing, actually, the riff. If there's a riff, I don't know, John Petrucci writes a riff, you can recognize that it's him because of the way he treats riffs and how he goes on about a melody of a song or the chord progression, etc. The same thing goes for solos, of course. If we're talking about, I don't know, Yngwie Malmsteen or Zakk Wylde or Dimebag Darrell, like, you immediately spot them, not just because of the sound of their guitar or amplifier, but because of the note selection, the type of scales, the type of vibrato, which is a huge part of it, the phrasing and the vibrato are the other things that come on top of the writing. The writing is the core, the base of it, and then the phrasing and the vibrato is what is the giveaway. You can immediately spot Dimebag Darrell's vibrato or Yngwie Malmsteen's phrasing. The only situation where I would say tone is fully in the rig, so the player barely changes the actual sound of his or her rig, is when we're talking about a highly compressed, highly saturated, sort of modern metal sound, and someone plays a modern metal riff, a really technical, quick metal riff with it. The only giveaway can be the writing. So if you recognize the kind of riff which connects that to a certain player, but other than that, the sound is pretty much just the guitar, the pickup, the pedals if they use any, and the amp. That is tone in the rig. Let's move on to the second category, which is low to medium gain sounds. This is where things start to become much more interesting. I'm sure you've heard some of these stories where famous guitar players tried Eddie Van Halen's rig. Not sure if it was Nuno Bettencourt or Steve Lukather or someone real famous tried Eddie's rig and did not sound like Eddie at all. They just still sounded exactly like themselves. And or John Mayer, where he was at a whatever party and someone filmed it with a phone. He was playing an affordable Epiphone or something and still sounded like John Mayer. This is where the player, the attack, the dynamics, the phrasing, the writing, every single little detail, every nuance of your playing changes the perception of that guitar sound. For example, you can take a nice and balanced low to medium gain drive sound like this, and start playing different styles or songs. On the bridge pickup, if you go for something, I don't know, classic rock, it works. Or if you go for a subtle sort of finger-picky style. Or the exact same sound with a delay on the neck pickup. or with a little more gain and no delay, still neck pickup. Which doesn't sound exactly like Slash, of course, or it doesn't sound like Andy Timmons exactly, but it's close, and so close that it feels right. And I think that word feel is a crucial one here. If you find a rig that just feels great for the songs you want to play, it all makes sense. And there's a big chance that the original artist that you're covering and want to try to sound like would also feel real good about that rig and that sound, which means that that player would probably sound exactly like him or herself. And that is, again, the thing, that all those little things, all the details of your playing can shape a relatively nice and balanced and generic guitar sound to your sound. And the third category is, of course, clean sounds, clean tones. It's just more of the same, really. You have the full dynamic range, you have all the details, all the nuances of your playing coming through. Of course, on the other hand, you'll hear the character of your rig, of the guitar and the amp, even more. So if it's a Strat, a Tele, a Les Paul, a more modern guitar, you will notice that. But every little detail of the player will reveal the player, the person behind the guitar. So there's going to be a lot of tone in those fingers, or a lot of finger in that guitar tone, however you want to take it. And again, of course, don't take this term too seriously. It's just a saying that is trying to pronounce that you can spot the player, and the player's attitude, phrasing, vibrato, songwriting, melodic world will shine through, unless the guitar tone is compressed to death. And the only thing that matters is to be accurate and hit those notes and be fast enough and, I don't know, tight enough. But with all that tone talk aside, what really matters is to enjoy playing the guitar regardless of the rig and how good it sounds. See you in the next one.